Hello again, everyone. I think I need to start a little bit with the story and the background why we decided actually to come with this particular topic today. The thing is that I remember the days that back in 2018 in December, a very small scooter company which is called Voi came to us, and it was just a bunch of engineers coming to us saying that, look, we want to launch a new product. It's a connected scooters, and we want to launch it first in Sweden, and then let's see what happens. And then Niklas and his team at that time, they were configuring those scooters in the garage, and little did we know that 5 months after, by May 2019, Voi will drop 120,000 scooters in 50 cities in Europe. So then I think there is a very interesting story in general. It's a good success story, and Voi is one of our biggest customers. But it's also a very good description of the challenges which IoT has. For us, it's important as a connectivity provider for our customers to come and make sure that we do all the necessary steps so that we are ready for any scenario, including the best case scenario. Okay? So from this perspective today, together with the team, we decided to do something very practical. And we decided to decouple different important steps which need to be taken in consideration when you are procuring IoT connectivity. Okay? And the important thing here is that, of course, if you come and become our customers, these are the normal and very logical questions you can ask. But I believe that if you are operating in IoT space and you are choosing any IoT connectivity provider, I challenge you to take those questions with you and see how your future operator will answer those. So, a guide to future-proof global IoT deployments. So first of all, let's start with the scary slides. When I joined IoT in 2016, I think I went to 3 conferences in 3 weeks, and everybody was saying 30 billion devices, 50 billion devices, 40 billion devices by all this type of things. And in general, the hype was real. I think IoT is a little bit past the hype curve already, and now it's time to talk about it a little bit more from the operational and realistic perspective. However, just to set the scene, if we look at the numbers, it's important to state one important fact. IoT is there to stay, IoT is there to grow. GSMA indicates that by 2030, they will have around 37 billion devices, Transformer Insight says 32. Whoever you ask, they will more or less give the important ballpark there. Around a third of them, more or less, will be the ones powered by cellular IoT connectivity. And this is enough about this slide. If you want to, you can, of course, check the GSMA reports and everything. We all know why we work with IoT, because it's a fantastic growing industry with a double-digit cumulative annual growth, and it's exciting to work in. So the opportunity is enormous, and let's state it as a fact. However, let's also face it, the IoT ecosystem is pretty challenging. So the way how GSMA sees the market is that they slice it into the 3 different things. So there is an application layer, connectivity layer, and device layer. And of course, there's system integration and a lot of different other things. But in general, let's stick to those 3. For us, as the connectivity provider, of course, we focus only on the thing which we know the best, which is connectivity. And as Niklas stated before, we are a horizontal player. For us, it doesn't matter who is your cloud provider, what are your device manufacturers. For us, it's important that you will choose the best providers for us. We are there to support, okay? And while IoT ecosystem is pretty complex, it's also very interesting in terms of value chain, because GSMA indicates that the total revenue which you expect from the connectivity of that is around only 10% of the total value. Another 30% is professional services, and then application, device, and everything is accounting for the rest of 60%. But look, you are the experts, you are the geeks, you are the ones who know these things. For us today, as I said, we want to focus only exclusively on the connectivity layer and provide our guidance and our findings in this particular area. But then, the complexity doesn't end up there. Because then you look at the connectivity layer standalone, you zoom in again, and it's again challenging. All of a sudden you have licensed spectrum, unlicensed spectrum, you have satellite, you have different kinds of technology. 5G is coming, 2G is removed. So how to navigate in this landscape when you are planning your business to be future-proof? What are the steps you need to make in order to make sure that your devices will be still relevant and not like an absolute dinosaurs in a year, for instance, 2030? Of course, all of those technologies have their pluses and minuses. They are better maybe in terms of latency and bandwidth. Sometimes you need to pick some of the technologies which are a little bit more energy efficient. It's absolutely up to your use case. We are there to guide you. However, it's important to state that we, as the mobile network operator today, are mostly operating in the license spectrum, which means 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G networks, and of course the NB-IoT and LTE-M in the networks where it's available. Today we are operating with 600 different operators globally, and our devices are in roughly 185 countries, just as Niklas and Helen said before. Okay, so now the landscape is set. How are we going to tackle these questions, and what are those steps? So for this perspective, the idea of the slide is that we want to give you a silver bullet for the type of a Russian roulette, so that you can load your revolver, come to your connectivity provider, and ask all the relevant questions. And for us, in order to future-proof your IoT deployments, it always starts with one and the most important thing, which is strategy. In our first meetings here in Switzerland with Chiara or any other sales managers in Europe, we want to understand what is your business model. What are you going to do? What are the commercial models? Are you going to charge your customer directly or indirectly? What are your business needs? Is it important that your connectivity is always on? Is it important for you just to send small kind of data packets? All of these questions we need to configure at the very, very first time. And just as I used the example of VoIP before, don't be afraid to dream. Let's come and talk about the strategy for 3 and 5 years from now. What are your markets of expansion? Are you going to be only in one country, or are you going to expand in Europe, outside of Europe? For us, it is very easy. It's important for us to know it from the get-go, and we have the flexibility to give you so that wherever your device will be, you will have a very cost-efficient and good connectivity provided for that. And of course, I think it's important to mention the customer intimacy. We come from the operator side where we have an extremely high customer satisfaction score of 97% and a very high industry high NPS score as well. And from that perspective, we really care how you feel about us in terms of customer intimacy, and we want to make sure that your application, your device always works, so that also your end customers are getting a fantastic experience at all times. So now we talked about strategy. That's kind of clear. Let's talk about SIM cards. It is obvious that you already have your device, and it's a given. There is a SIM card slot. Something has to be put there in order to make sure that it connects to the cellular connectivity for that matter. Maybe it's actually your secondary connectivity option. Maybe you are using the fixed line, but you're using cellular connectivity just like a backup. So from this perspective, in the first meetings or in the first interactions, we will get to know what is the size, form factors you need for that. Is it a bigger SIM, 2FF, 3FF, 4FF, eSIM, soft SIM, whatever you want, we kind of have it. And we're working with the best vendors also in the market, Thales, IDEMIA. But then it's also important to understand what is the environment where your SIM will be working. So is it going to be some kind of a robust environment? And sometimes it's almost anecdotal. We go to kind of our IoT network operations center, and there is a big map of the world. And we're like, how the hell did our SIM cards end up being somewhere in Greenland or in Svalbard? So it's absolutely unbelievable. Sometimes you sell the connectivity to one player, but then B2B to B2X and everything, and here we go. We are somewhere in the middle of nowhere on the North Pole. And then, of course, branding for the customer experience, your ability to switch the operator, but also the new standards is a very important thing for the SIM cards. Right now, GSMA is working on publishing the finalized version of the SGP32 standard, which is going to be quite a big change for the market in future. I'm very sure that we can speak about it a little bit later in the break, but it is one of those days when we are just releasing a new technology, and we need to make sure that we take into consideration all the things which it will mean for our business in 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years from now. So you have a strategy, you have the SIM, let's talk about connectivity. This is pretty much a given. We are making sure that with our 600 operator agreements, we're able to give you the best coverage in the area. If you want to optimize your cost, we can also make sure that your rate plans would be optimized to the most basically cheapest networks. If you want to make sure that you always have a stronger signal, we also can set up this type of configuration. At the end of the day, we need to make sure that we take all of those in consideration, and most importantly, follow up what is happening on the market. Because with the 2G and 3G sunsetting in Europe, we see that many of the devices will not longer be in action, maybe in a couple of years from now. And this thing very much varies from the geography. So when making those decisions, it's very important to take those into account. Now, of course, the kind of a holy grail for us is that we provide SIM, connectivity, and the platform so that you can manage your connectivity. And here we are very happy to work with the best platform in the world, Cisco IoT Control Center, previously known as Jasper. Today, they are managing more than 100 billion devices on the platform. And of course, from the functionality perspective, they are really best in class. They have tested it on such a big scale, it's kind of a really foolproof and bulletproof. And I mean, the good thing about Jasper really is that they have like the concept where there is so many automation rules and so many open APIs that it works basically in a way which they describe as set and forget. You just configure your connectivity together with your engineers or maybe with our solution consultants. You set the right automation rules, alerts, and somehow, quite perfectly, it works. And here, it's important to make sure that you also are able to diagnose and monitor the things, because for those of you who have some of the service companies where there is a device, one of the important things for you to understand if it's a connectivity problem or a device problem. Do you need to send a service personnel, or is it something which is happening over there? And I think in this type of use cases, of course, having a lot of different functionalities from Cisco is important. And it goes without saying, while it's quite funny to hear from the operator, but we are actually interested in giving you as many possibilities to optimize your connectivity cost. So if you want to make sure that you use it in different geographies, and you want to make sure that your connectivity is helping you to avoid bill shocks, so be it. We are very happy to provide you all the tools for that, so that you would be in total control of your connectivity costs. So SIM connectivity platform, that's clear. And then we need to go and talk about security. Niklas also mentioned it in the previous conversation. It is obvious that in rather turbulent times these days with a lot of different hacker attacks, you need to take it seriously. Of course, we provide the telco-grade security, setting up the private APNs and private VPNs. If you want to set up the cloud interconnect services, so be it, fantastic, we can provide that. But there are also quite a lot of different interesting functionalities on the Cisco IoT Control Center, which are security related. And here probably I need to come and tell you a little bit of an anecdotal story, which is a true thing. You can check it in the British news. So I think it was around 5 or 6 years ago, and the British Ornithologist Society all of a sudden got a bill shock of like £35,000 for the cost of connectivity. And what they were doing is that they were tracking birds, which were flying, say, from Britain to Africa and then back. So apparently, what happened is that they didn't set up the rule, which is EMEI whitelisting, which is setting the SIM card to work specifically with only one device. And then, in the set of unfortunate events, somebody shot the bird, took the tracker, took the SIM out, and started calling his buddies. Calling all day, all night, £35,000 of the thing is not something Ornithologist Society was very happy about. I think that they have settled it up with an operator. But I just want to show a little bit of a radical and funny example of it. But those things are important. We need to set up those automation rules. We need to set up those whitelisting things. These are very basic things, but believe me, they are very important for the business continuity. Now, of course, professional services. And here comes a very important thing for us, because Niklas and Helen already mentioned. We are operating with a big slogan. We want to spread the IoT love, and you can see very much this atmosphere here in the room. So we care about making sure that your connectivity is always available. We want to make sure that it's available 24/7, and for that sake, for the past 5-6 years, we actually have an IoT network operations center, which is working around the clock with our great operational team in Riga. But then, if you also see that actually your business is very business critical and you want an extended SLA of, say, 99.999% of service availability, this is also something we can provide. And this is also something which we can agree on contractually if this is of interest for you or for your business. And obviously, from our perspective, it's important to provide as many good technically skilled people in the very beginning of the process to you as possible. So for that sake, we have actually solution consultants, which are included whenever we are onboarding the customer so that we do the right technical configuration. And then, of course, if you want to, you can also buy the professional services from us, where you will have, say, 20 to 40 hours of time of a specific connectivity-related customer, so you really forget about it, and then we manage it for you. And then I think that on a macro level, another thing which we shouldn't really discontinue or forget about is the set of regulatory restrictions. You know, in EU, every now and then there are new set of restrictions coming. If you are having an end consumer product, you need to be mindful about GDPR. Sometimes in European Union, the regulations might be different from country to country. If you are working in the healthcare or connected care sector, for instance, working in Germany might be very different than working in Sweden or UK. So all of those things have to be taken in consideration. But sometimes, and this is our kind of a firm belief, sometimes regulatory compliance also is a great business opportunity. For example, right now, a very interesting thing is happening in Spain. So there is a thing which we call internally a beacon project, but this is the emergency light regulation, which is going to be active in Spain by the end of 2025. So all of a sudden, every single vehicle in Spain needs to have a special connected emergency light, which is installed on top of the car, blinking, and with the possibility to send the signal as well. And it would be kind of replacing those normal triangles, which you need to put like 25 meters behind your car. All of a sudden, the business opportunity of roughly 35 million connected cars in Spain is created. And with the Spanish a little bit mañana mindset, I think that most of them would be done in Q3, Q4 2025. But jokes aside, the important thing is that we as the business owners need to monitor that, understand what is going on, what it means for our business, and take the possibility whenever this is happening. And then, as I mentioned before, and this is the underlying topic here, we here in Tele2 IoT, we provide the horizontal strategy and interoperability. If you are working with Azure, fine. Google Cloud, perfect. AWS, fantastic. If you want to buy your own hardware devices and you are sourcing them from Switzerland or China, it is perfectly fine with us. If you are seeking for help from our perspective, we are obviously really willing to connect you with all the contacts which we have, because we are working with many companies who are already providing things on device layer and application layer. But in our opinion, we want to work with the best, and we want you to be very happy about your solution. So for us, as a horizontal player, we will enable connectivity for everyone. So to summarize, as I told you, this particular pitch is not the pitch for the case of Tele2 IoT being the best. This particular pitch is the shout out to the market, where connectivity became a little bit of a big dragon, something very complex and sometimes maybe misunderstood. And we want to make sure that we as Tele2 IoT, when coming to Switzerland or to any other European country, we kind of spread the word. We spread the word from the perspective of our personal knowledge, and we also challenge you to ask those questions and think about it from your business perspective. Because in our opinion, connectivity is important. Is it vitally important? No, of course you have your hardware stuff. Of course you have the fantastic customer experience on the application layer. But without connectivity, it will not work. And this is a mandatory thing from this perspective. So I encourage you to take it with you. I hope it was interesting and useful for you. And next time when you are thinking about connectivity, remember the connectivity Russian roulette and then future-proof your IoT connectivities for that sake. So thank you very much.